And joining me now to react to my open and more, South Carolina Republican and chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Lindsey Graham. All right, Senator, thanks so much for taking the time to join us on Justice tonight. I want to go right to the issue that I ended on in my open, and that has to do with China. You know, given what China has done and what we've been finding out, given the reporting by Bret Baier from Fox News and the intel community telling us that clearly they knew about it, they lied about it, and we have, every one of us Americans have been suffering as a result of it. What can you, or do you as a senator, intend to do about it, and what can Congress do?
Well, that's a really great question. Tom Cotton and Dan Crenshaw have legislation to allow individual Americans to sue China for the damage done to them and their families. That's something to look at. I'd like to look at a tariff, a pandemic tariff. Let's put tariffs on China and take that money to help reimburse our citizens who have suffered so much. It's overwhelmingly documented that this virus came from China. It started with one person dealing with a bat. Gross negligence and willful deception by the Chinese government has led to 22 million Americans being unemployed and 38,000 Americans dead, and China needs to pay.
Well, you know, when you say, Senator, that, you know, that there are bills that will allow Americans to sue China, that's not a done deal yet. I mean, we actually need legislation, and
no, it's not.
Based upon
it's not.
What Nancy...
It's not.
Yeah, okay, so now let's talk about what we can do now. So we owe money to China. Can we start canceling that debt? That's number one. Number two, what about the fact that 90% of our medicines are made in China? What are we going to do about that?
Well, so Marshall Blackburn, I think, has legislation with Martha McSally that basically allows us to cancel some of the debt that we owe to China. You know, canceling debt is something we could do. You know, China is the largest state sponsor of pandemics in the world. Iran's the largest state sponsor of terrorism. We sanctioned the hell out of Iran for spreading terrorism, or to sanction the hell out of China for spreading pandemics. So we can do Marshall's bill. There's a bunch of things we can do. I'd like to put sanctions on China, not just from the United States, but from the entire world. This is the third pandemic to come out of China. Enough is enough. Bring the supply chain back? Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Let's bring it back into this country using carrots and sticks, telling businesses, if you relocate your supply chain, we'll give you a tax break. If you don't, we're going to punish you.
Well, clearly, in terms of the supply chain, I mean, think about a country that intentionally allows a virus to literally, through the people who have it, be sent all over the world, but not allowing people from Wuhan to fly to the rest of China. They protected themselves and put the rest of the world at risk. I mean, you know, the intent is so malicious, so malign that, you know, how can we possibly rely on them for our medicines, for supply chains? I mean, it's got to be more than just a carrot and a stick. There's got to be a sanction if we don't, or some incentive, I should say, at the very least, to make sure that these products are made in America. Now, let's talk about the WHO. The president this week talked about freezing the money to the World Health Organization. They're in bed with China. I mean, this guy, Tedros, you know, I don't know where he came from, Ethiopia, but, you know, he is taking China's side. What Nancy Pelosi actually comes out and says what the president did was dangerous and illegal, and we're going to swiftly challenge it. What's her issue?
So her issue is that she hates Trump to the point of hurting our own nation. She is condemning President Trump for cutting funds off of the WHO because they've been in China's pocket. Has she at one time mentioned the fact the virus came out of China, that the Chinese Communist Party lied to the American people and the world at large? She 3 weeks ago on national television blamed President Trump for dead Americans and a wrecked economy. She wrote a memo about 3 days ago blaming President Trump. President Trump has done a damn good job protecting this country. He closed down travel to China when nobody in the world suggested we should. On March 13th, he declared a national emergency, put CDC guidelines into place that I think have saved 1 million Americans. You may not agree with me, but I believe if we have done nothing, if President Trump had not acted March 13th, there'd be 1 million plus dead Americans. I think he's done a damn good job in the Democratic Party. World War II, we were all in it together. This is the time when we should be all in it together.
Interesting?
China's the culprit here, not Trump.
Right. And, you know, Nancy Pelosi, maybe she ought to think about getting back to work herself. Senator Lindsey Graham, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.